Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Finance in Focus, breaking into the financial sector in the UK by School of Economics and Finance, Queen Mary University of London. We'll be starting shortly in about 2 minutes, just to get everyone settled. Okay, everyone, so let's get started. So welcome again, everyone, to the Finance in Focus, breaking into the financial sector in the UK webinar by School of Economics and Finance, Queen Mary University of London. So we are part of Queen Mary University of London, and driving on the university's global reputation, we have been consistently in the world's top 50 and top 100 in our field. And in our master's program, we focus on employability and practical skills with modules taught by industry professionals, extensive career support services, and extracurricular professional development activities to help you gain experience while you're at school. We currently have 9 master's programs from economics, finance, to wealth management. And in some of our programs, we offer trainings for CFA exams as part of our curriculum. And we even offer a year in industry, which offers you a chance to gain work experience while studying for your degree. And in our master's program, We also offer a wide range of scholarships, and most of these scholarships are automatically awarded to eligible applicants. So for more information about our school, you can visit the website through this QR code, or if you have any inquiries inquiries or any specific questions, you can send us an email at this email address as you can see on the screen. And throughout the webinar, if you have any question, feel free to drop them in the chat and it will be picked up by our speakers today. So, without further ado, let's get to the main event today and welcome our speakers. We have Jazz Kandola, the career consultant at Queen Mary Careers and Enterprise team, and our alumni, Nijish Singh, associate consultant at Capco, and also a master in banking and finance alumni. We have Vedant Seksaria, the investment associate at Greystar, and he's also an investment and finance alumni. And last but not least, Laura Hoffman, senior tax advisor at EY, and she's also a master in investment and finance alumni. So yeah, let's get started. So to you, Jess.
Okay, thank you so much, Nam. I will just share my screen and then begin. Okay, lovely. Okay. Okay. Well, hello everyone. It's lovely to be here with you. Just to introduce myself, my name is Jazz. I'm a careers consultant for the Queen Mary's Careers and Enterprise Service. But I work with the School of Economics and Finance to run employability modules, as well as support on for undergraduates, and then support with some postgraduate aspects as well. But yeah, so I'm here today to give you a kind of overview of navigating the UK financial sector by breaking down what that actually looks like, where our graduates who are at Queen Mary, who have done a degree, where they can end up, then also looking at nationally as well, where graduates go when they've studied economics. And also just looking at some up and coming trends within the sector, and also skills that the sector is looking for, so that you can try and invest in those things or just be aware of things. We'll also look over the application kind of cycle very briefly, just because it's something to be aware of if you're considering a master's, just if the timeline is quite fixed. So it's great to know so that you can get in there and be ready from the get-go. So yeah, thank you for listening. So I have about 20 minutes, I believe. Okay, perfect. So if we just compare these two images, so this is a close-up of some financial institutes and banks. But I just wanted to show this view from one of our lecture rooms, which I was in on Friday. You're so close to the city and Canary Wharf, where lots of these institutions that you'll learn about. So hopefully that's an inspiring kind of image to keep in mind. But apologies. So why finance, and what is going on with finance in the UK in terms of how much what's the kind of state of play like? So the finance sector generated 294 billion in 2023, accounting for about 13% of the nation's income. There's 2.49 million people employed. This was as of 2023. And that's employed across financial and professional services. It's important to know where people are employed. So 1/3 of people are employed within London. Outside of that, we'd be looking at Birmingham, Manchester, and Edinburgh as other kind of hubs of employment. And And yeah, it's such a vast sector that ranges from investment banking, asset management, fintech, ESG regulation and policy. And there's lots of different institutions that make up the kind of financial sector, which is what I wanted to break down today, and including aspects of ways of getting in. But just a spotlight on this to say there's lots happening within the UK. There's lots of different areas. And yeah, it's kind of a great sector to be in because it does contribute so much to the national economy. So where could this degree take you? So looking at the left-hand side first, I wanted to kind of put a spotlight on the fact that finance, banking, professional services, this is an extremely broad area. And I would invite you to question, rather than thinking, how do I break into the finance sector? Maybe also just some reflection on your own skills and thinking about, where do I align? What sounds the most interest to me? I say that because a lot of students I meet might be drawn immediately just to say investment banking, which is a great and a dynamic area. But I would ask you to kind of look at the other areas as well. For example, if you found yourself to be quite detail orientated, maybe having an interest in regulation, being quite analytical, you could be interested in risk and compliance. And there's a whole broad kind of lots of different jobs under that umbrella. Then say if you were a person who thrived under pressure, who wanted to be making real-time decisions, like really snappy, quite competitive, relying on a lot of numbers, making quick decisions, then you might be looking at sales and trading. Whereas asset management is more long-term thinking, managing people's money and investing it in more of a long-term scope. Whereas investment banking is looking at mergers and acquisitions. So there's so many different things involved that I just wanted to highlight. This is a good point to reflect. What do I naturally gravitate towards? Just because there is so many different things going on here. On the right side of the screen is just a glimpse into some of the role names that you can end up in, and this is like really broad, going from being an economist and advising government, to being a trader on the sales and trading floor, being a policy advisor, being a risk analyst and looking at compliance. There's so many different things. So I hope that gives you a kind of brief glimpse into what you could get your hands on after you complete your postgraduate degree. Our next slide. So I've just looked at some of the job titles that our own Queen Mary graduates have gone on to. So looking at data from 22-23, that's the most up to date that we have currently, just because it runs a bit back in time. But you can see there's such a broad range here. So from economic advisor down to an investment banking analyst, a civil servant, accountant, the kind of industries that people have gone on to work in, those are broad as well, from public institutions, civil service, banks, manufacturing even. And some of our biggest graduate employers are kind of Competitions and Market Authority, Bank of England, Financial Conduct Authority, kind of retail banks, as well as the government itself. So again, just such a broad area. The graphic on the right is the top 10 jobs held by people who have completed undergraduate economics degrees. But I just wanted to bring that in because that will still be really relevant to you considering a postgraduate degree within the School of Finance, because most of these roles should still be accessible for you. So yeah, we've got, again, lots of similarities. To be fair, there is just a lot of similarities there. Some really exciting roles, working with people, working with just data analyst, working as a taxation expert. But I guess the number one thing is a finance and investment analyst and advisor. which again corresponds to a lot of the kind of roles that our own postgraduate students have gone on to after they finished a postgraduate degree with us. So hopefully that's making you excited at all of the different possibilities that are open to you. I just also wanted to kind of break the financial ecosystem down. So these are the key sectors in finance. So retail and commercial banking. So those will be your high street brands banking that help individuals and businesses manage their money. So people like Lloyd's, HSBC. Then we have investment banks, which help look at mergers and acquisitions, IPOs. Let me just, sorry, give me 1 second. Just bringing this over here. Yeah, I just wanted to give some examples of organizations. So yeah, investment banks, which I think is what most people gravitate to, is those large organizations who advise on major financial transactions and help them raise capital. And these will be some of the kind of big names associated with that: Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America. Asset management is managing investments on behalf of clients to help them grow their wealth over time. Some typical employers here are BlackRock, Schroders, Fidelity, Legal and General. And asset management managers invest money on behalf of clients and aim to generate long-term returns. Insurance is something to highlight as well. I think it's often something overlooked by students, or maybe not as a common of an option. But the insurance, there's lots of work within there, and it's helping individuals and organizations manage financial risk. So some of your typical employers there are people like Aviva, Alliance, Zurich. Then we have, which I think is quite an exciting one, regulatory and policy. So organizations responsible for maintaining stability, transparency and trust in the financial system. So these are people like Bank of England, the Financial Conduct Authority. So these organizations make sure that everything remains stable, fair and trustworthy, sort of keeping, I guess, everyone else in check, which I think sounds like a really intriguing role, and really would draw in someone who is drawn to processes, who's analytical. Then we have the financial market infrastructure. So these are people like the employers within that are typically London Stock Exchange Group, for example. And this is the infrastructure that makes sure that systems keep the global financial market running. So yeah, I guess that just goes to show that it breaks down. There's 4 key areas within finance, but then all of these different umbrellas within that. So yeah, I hope that's given you a good insight into how different these areas are. And hopefully you've heard about a new element of the ecosystem that maybe you hadn't heard of before, and you might be intrigued to look more into it. So yeah, just kind of recapping on that, the UK financial ecosystem. So we've got financial institutions, we've got investments, corporate finance and international finance, all kind of looking after things. So there's lots of different aspects of that. And yeah, today I just wanted to kind of open up that window so that we're looking at more than just what we might initially see, which might be things like investment banking or asset management. Yeah, I will leave that there and move on to the next slide. So what are some trends shaping the industry? So on a recent visit to ING Bank, I met some people there working in the organization, and they talked a lot about how AI is transforming their industry across trading, risk, compliance, and client services. They mentioned that they get a lot of comments around is AI kind of taking over jobs. Their perspective was AI is helping them do their jobs by doing the kind of the really technical, looking after the really technical side, which then allows them to have more time with their clients. So I thought that was quite an interesting and positive view of how AI is helping this industry and kind of transforming it, sort of every different aspect of it. We've also got fintech as a trend that's shaping the industry. We've got challenger banks, payment innovations, and kind of embedded finance, which is reshaping the landscape. So new kind of emerging banks, Monzo, Starling, which is challenging the status quo, which I think is super interesting and kind of keeping in with the AI and automation and how things are changing there. So something to keep your eye on. Sustainability is also a big trend within the industry. We're looking at climate risk and how sustainability can be key to making investment and lending decisions. We're also seeing a rise in regulatory kind of positions coming up, where there's a rising demand for sort of compliance expertise. So hopefully good news hopefully these are some trends that can help you. You might be interested in some of these things. These would be great things to analyze or look at more research into more, especially when thinking about commercial awareness and conversations you could be having if you meet a future employer. Now onto some skills that employers are looking out for. So technical skills are obviously really in demand, especially with the rise of AI and automation. So if you are looking into kind of those roles that require you to be more numerate or technically focused, these are some of those skills that you might want to look at. So things like Excel, Python, data modeling, cloud computing, data analysis, having an understanding as well of regulations, compliance frameworks. Another thing that is key, which I heard from a CEO of an organization on Friday, was the importance of communication and how that then seeps into how you work with AI. So obviously the technical things are super important, but communication is something that always goes alongside with the technical aspects. Are you able to talk to your colleagues? Are you able to break things down to people who might not work in your area? Are you able to use your communication skills to create good questions and craft good AI prompts? Curiosity is really one of those things, and I think that really is key and linked to communication. Just being able to have that rapport, build those interpersonal skills. Commercial awareness obviously is always really important, and an awareness of what's happening in your particular umbrella or sector or section of the financial sector and how that relates to other areas. Also, something to be aware of, application timeline. So a lot of our graduate schemes follow a window of jobs opening. The application season is in the autumn. Sometimes it's even earlier than September. So if you're starting your master's in September, you want to hit the ground running. So being aware of this timeline could be super helpful. Also just being aware that, say, if you don't get a graduate scheme or if you miss some of these deadlines, there's also jobs available, or things like off-cycle internships which happen in the spring, There's also this direct entry point. So lots of jobs hire on demand when the organization needs someone. So if you do miss that graduate kind of job cycle, don't worry. There's also other things that you can access. But if you're coming into this degree, super important to be aware of this so you can hit the ground running and so that you feel like you don't miss any of this. So as soon as you get your student card, you can book an appointment with the career service if you wanted to talk any of this through. And this leads me nicely onto my last slide. So the Careers and Enterprise service is available to you as soon as you begin at the university, and we also offer support for 3 years from the end of your course date. And we're here in lots of different ways. So we offer one-to-one appointments, we run events where we invite people like, say, JP Morgan onto campus, or we might even go to different employers' sites. We have alumni panels like you're going to see today. We've got information resources. We've got a page where you can look at lots of different career hubs, which is our name, which is where we post lots of internships, jobs, volunteering. We also offer support, say, if you're interested in starting your own business as well. But just linked to the previous slide. So if you arrive to university and you're feeling really confused or overwhelmed, which is a very common thing for students to feel, or say if you do know what you want, which is also common, you can come and visit us straight away and we will put you in touch with all of these different things and just help you feel like you've got a plan to kind of move in the right direction. But I hope that's been a helpful introduction, and I believe I have spoken for roughly 20 minutes, which is my time slot. So I will stop sharing my screen there, but there'll be a section at the end, I believe, where you'll be able to ask any questions. So I hope that was helpful. And look forward to meeting some of you if you decide to join Queen Mary, which I hope you do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jazz. And everyone, I know that we are doing this online, but please give Jazz a round of applause. So thank you, Jazz. If you don't mind, please stay on as we welcome our alumni. Please welcome Laura and Nitish. Vedant is having some technical difficulties, so we hope he can join us soon. Okay, so for Laura and Nitish, why don't we start with a quick introduction by yourself? So what about yourself, about your job, and how did you get into your job after graduating from Queen Mary?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to go first. Hey everyone, my name is Laura Hoffman. As you've seen on the first slide or the second slide, I'm a senior tax advisor at EY. I focus on the energy sector, so I've worked with a lot of oil and gas companies, renewable energy companies, some kind of metals and mining businesses, and I advise them on kind of indirect tax consequences of their trading activities. So that means kind of VAT, global trade, taxes, so anything like customs and excise, and various environmental taxes. I did both my undergrad and postgraduate at Queen Mary. So I studied accounting and finance on my undergrad at School of Business Management, and then I studied investment and finance at School of Economics and Finance. And how I got into my role, so I really resonated with Jess said that kind of once you start your master's, and kind of what I did in my third year of undergrad, like start of the year, I hit the ground running. In September, I already had careers appointments lined up in over the summer going into my final year of undergrad. I already had kind of a list of employers, a list of jobs that I wanted to apply for. So as soon as they opened, I was right there to apply. And then that's how kind of EY came on my radar. And it was quite a rigorous process. So I went through some math and logical tests at the beginning, and then we've had a virtual interview. We then had like a kind of a full day case study and interview session, and then the final round was another virtual interview with a presentation, including a presentation with a partner from EY. And that took quite a few months. And then I received my offer letter a few months before I graduated from my undergraduate degree. But then I decided to do my master's, to do my postgrad before I started at EY. That's kind of in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions later. Over to you, Nitish.
That was quite intensive. And thank you, everyone. It was brilliant presentation, Jazz. I think you covered like most of the points and most of the sectors. Yeah, I can tell you because I was there like 2 years ago, and I had like same kind of questions, as in how to go about it. So I'm currently working as a consultant with Capco, which is a Wipro consulting arm. So I'm currently advising and helping banks in terms of their data management practices, enterprise data management practices, right from regulatory requirements to how embedding an AI in the enterprise systems so that they can manage it effectively and regulate it at the same time as per the regulatory requirements. So that's my job currently. And yeah, there are a lot of bits and pieces. I think it's all intertwined, I would say. AI comes handy definitely. And starting from QMUL, yes, I completed my master's post graduation in banking and finance. It actually helped me a lot in terms of building a lot of skill set in tooling, especially like Excel, Power BI, Python. Everything is quite essential, I would say, when you commit to the job and try to utilize all those things. You'll have to just go back and revise everything. Yeah. And of course, as Laura also mentioned, like, yeah, you have to be aware of the cycles of the job market, just apply early. Jazz mentioned some key points regarding networking and communication as well. So you just start communicating with people and right people, alumni, just try to get advice from them. I think everything helps down the line if you want to get an early grab of any opportunity, I would say. So just build those connections. Those are quite crucial, and you will feel that later on. So yeah, I think that's about me. Over to you, Nam.
Okay, thank you all. So let's crack on with some questions, both from us and also from people who have registered for this event, the prospective student. So first is a question for everyone. So yes, that also includes you, Jess. Um, so look, reflecting on your time in the financial industry. So what is something that you believe when you first started that turned out to be completely wrong now? So who wants to go first? You are free to decide that. Yeah, take some time if you need some time to think.
It's a bit of tricky question, I would say. But yeah, Laura, over to you if you want to start.
I think one thing I was gonna say is that what I expected kind of coming into the role EY is that I think I thought that they would expect me to know a lot of things and to be able to demonstrate all the knowledge I gained over the years, and it was quite the opposite. So my kind of my bosses were they didn't expect me to know everything. They were very happy to kind of sit down and explain everything, and rather than kind of me showing any knowledge, they wanted me to ask questions. I would say that kind of that's very, I would say that's very, very important that you ask questions. And obviously you're told this so many times that no question is kind of a silly question, but it really is. And that's how, especially at the beginning, that's how you make good impression. And even during the interview process, that's how you make good impression. That you ask loads of different questions. It just shows that you're interested, you're enthusiastic, and you do want to learn more.
Okay, sounds great. So what about you, Nitish?
I second that to what Laura said exactly. I mean, that's there. I would say communication skills is very important as well, and it goes hand in hand with asking questions and understanding the concepts, or maybe the overall picture, right? And with that, I would say definitely work on communication skills, because you never know, you will get an opportunity wherein you'll have to interact with very senior stakeholders right away, right? So take that opportunity, be ready for that. And yeah, I would say I was quite good with communication skills, as in terms of reaching out to the right people, understanding the landscape and the environment as well, and at the same time. So that's a key to asking right questions as well, and approaching right people in terms of providing right solution to the clients or stakeholders. So that's a very key, I would say, learning that I had from QMUL as well, and early experiences.
That's fascinating. I'm sure communication is key, according to what you said. So, Jess, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I guess for me, it's how dynamic the sector is, and how different how different I guess people can fit into the different aspects of it, especially, there's certain aspects which are really fast paced, others which require a more methodical approach. So yeah, I think it's if someone maybe doesn't feel like they know where they fit yet, I would want to reassure them that with time and with research, hopefully they would find a part of the financial sector where they feel like they can thrive. So yeah, I guess not a surprise, but just understanding how broad the sector can be has been surprising, and really really illuminating, just because it just goes to show there's space for lots of different skill sets as well. Thank you.
Okay. So, since Nitish mentioned a lot about communication, so this is a question for you. Um, so you're a consultant, and consultants are often brought in to solve complex business problems. But the hardest part is not always the analysis itself. So can you talk about like a time when when there's a challenge? Yeah. So can you talk about a challenge where managing people and stakeholders was just as important as the technical solution?
Yeah, I would say I was in that situation. However, I've earned like all the analytical skills through my studies and stuff. But actually, I learned with on job, I would say, that how to present a story. It's very important to understand client requirements or stakeholder requirements, senior stakeholders as well, as in what they are looking for, what's their problem statement, right? I think at very early stage, I had to, get a grasp of how to tell a story, and which is very important. You right away start from problem statement, then what's the objective, what they are trying to achieve, right? You need to understand all those dynamics. And of course, apart from, doing your analysis and stuff, your storytelling definitely goes hands in hand. Um, I think that definitely helped me throughout my consulting journey and managing stakeholders at very early stage. And there would be a lot of politics and dynamics as well. But I think if you have all these things, I think you will be able to manage easily. Right.
Okay, and I was also happy to hear that you have learned a lot of practical, useful skills from your master's at Queen Mary. So regarding all your skills that you have learned from your degree at Queen Mary, what do you think is the most valuable one?
Oh, yeah. My straight answer would be Excel. You use day to day, I would say, everywhere. Um, with that, I would say Python could be handy as well, because a lot of now prompts and ChatGPT prompts. So I'm working on a project wherein I orchestrate a lot of stuff. We generate some of the Python scripts and try to write prompts in codex format to produce right desired results in agentic data management. So yeah, I think that would be quite handy. And I think you can just leave an impression right away, straight from coming from university and getting into the job, right? So that could be quite impactful. And as I said, storytelling, yeah, you should be quite handy with PowerPoint presentations as well. Like decks are very important in a consulting or any financial industry, right? So just not, I will not say just beautification of the decks. I would say the right messaging should be there, the right content should be there as well. So I think these three things are quite important.
Yeah, that was a great answer. So for anyone who wants to keep it simple, who needs the keywords on how to start developing the skill set, then there you have it. Excel, Python, and storytelling skills. Okay, so yeah, let's jump to Laura. So this is a question for you. So do you personally think tax is an area that students often overlook when thinking about a financial career?
It definitely is. And I think the reason for I think when people think about tax, they think about accountants, and it's actually very, very wrong. And that's how I thought about it at the beginning. Tax advisors are more like consultants, just focusing obviously on tax, right, rather than actual kind of accounting. I don't do any accounting or kind of any compliance work within my role. It's a lot. It's a lot about problem solving and kind of how you optimize tax within the legal bounds, but using kind of all the loopholes that are available within ethical ethical reasons or ethical within ethical framework. But yes, it is definitely overlooked most of the time.
Okay, so then I understand that, yes, sometimes people can overlook like working in tax. So what attracted you to work to this field? So what attracted you to work in tax?
The problem solving element of it, and particularly because within kind of the energy sector, I've worked a lot on kind of cross-border trading. So whether it's kind of the like physical, like let's say the sale of oil, sale and purchase of oil, or just commodities trading. We work a lot with banks who trade commodities. The traders often, for instance, don't realize that their trades can have significant tax consequences, which would mean that within their risk levels, those trades cannot go ahead because of the tax consequences. So it was for me really the problem solving of, okay, how do we make it happen that we can lower the tax consequences so that it fits within those risk levels that they can go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm sure that you have been having a great time working in tax role as EY. So yeah, about the working experience in tax. So why should graduates consider tax as a career path?
And it's an excellent question, and I do have a couple of reasons. So kind of beyond also the technical knowledge. I think if you're looking for if I think it's very common knowledge, or at least it's well known that working in finance can be long hours. It's a very work-life balance is non-existent or very much work and not so much life. So I think tax consultancy within that is very different. So the hours are very, very kind of flexible. Work-life balance is great. So if you're looking for something that doesn't take your whole life, then I think tax consultancy is definitely a way to go. It does kind of it does open your eye, and you start thinking about a lot of other kind of problems that you never thought that they were even there. So there are, I think, a lot of transferable skills that you can then take to many different roles.
Yeah, and I also agree that like like a space to to follow your curiosity, and also like a work-life balance. Those are the things that would really drive like young graduates into a certain job. So just a follow-up for you. So I do notice that you have been, in terms of searching for a job, you start hitting the ground running when you were in third year in your bachelor, and then you got an offer from EY, but then you decided to take a year doing a master's first before getting back to that EY job. So why did you decide to do that? And yeah, just a follow up to that, another follow up to that. What do you think what do you think the master degree that you took at Queen Mary, how do you think that add to that, because you decided to do it?
So the reason why I decided to do a master's, I think, so when I was in my final of undergrad, I had like, you don't know what you don't know. I had no idea. Like, I wanted to work in finance. I think everyone wants to work in investment bank who wants to work in finance, right? But I didn't actually, like, obviously you know about all the different that kind of service lines within finance, or different firms that you can go and work for, but you don't actually know what they do on a daily basis, what your actual job would look like. And I think you get, during a bachelor's, there's so much information, you learn so much that it's really hard to kind of pinpoint what exactly you'd be good at or what exactly you would enjoy to do. And I think it's also very kind of theoretical. It's very theoretical, those 3 years. So when I went for my master's during that year, most of our professors were actually industry professionals who actually worked in those businesses, in those fields. So all the lectures were much less theoretical, and it was more about what happened in real life. What happened around, like, say, like the 2008 financial crisis. We've had professors who were sitting on those trading floors when the world was going to hell. So I really wanted to kind of gain that experience. So that was one of the things that pushed me to do a master's degree. And also I wanted to learn more. And again, the master's in that sense was great, because so I studied investment and finance. So we had few compulsory modules, but you could, I think, choose half of the modules. So you could really tailor it what you were interested in. And the master's gave me a chance to actually drill down in those different areas a lot more and understand those kind of different areas within finance a lot more. And to answer your second question, what I gained from my master's, but first of all, your network, and it's always people always say that your network is your net worth, and I met so many people who I kind of, during my master's, who I now work with professionally one way or another. And also, for instance, all the kind of, during my undergrad finance degree, we didn't really learn much about, like, I don't know, hedging and trading options, and kind of all these very much more niche areas of finance than kind of just trading, let's say, or you're trading bonds and shares. And now, or you don't learn maybe much about, let's say, mergers and acquisitions. And now in my role, which I didn't at the time that it would be useful, but now when I work on, let's say, on an M&A transaction, I understand it so much more, because I understand what's going on behind kind of the scenes, and kind of in a big picture, just beyond tax. And again, the same goes for all different commodities trading. It helps me understand the bigger picture, so I don't kind of just look at it purely from a tax point of view. I look at the entire picture, and that really helps me solve those problems. So I would really recommend doing a master's, and kind of, I always say to my friends that if I have the chance later down the line, I would definitely do another master's, just because it's so enjoyable. Because you get to choose what you want to learn, so it really is about what you're interested in.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that you have enjoyed your time doing your master's. Definitely, yeah, as I said, like, the chance to dive into your curiosity, and also the chance to learn, like, what the position of the things you do in the big picture. That's something valuable. So the next question, so there's a question for everyone. Yeah, just give me a second. So a question for everyone. So we have been definitely, like, during all our talks, we mentioned a lot about technical knowledge and qualifications. So, and also, like, other soft skills as well. So among all those skills, which one do you think is the most underrated one?
Is it okay if I speak?
Yeah,
go
for sure,
first?
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So I don't know if this is underrated, but I think communication skills is potentially underrated, or just interpersonal skills. I I meet a lot of students who have part-time jobs, who say work in retail or hospitality and might be studying, I don't know, an undergraduate or a graduate. And sometimes they think that that experience is not relevant to their future job. Whereas I think in those moments I'm always like, okay, so but do you talk to people? Do you work in a team? Do you solve problems together through communication? And they say yeah. And then we're like, okay, so do you need that potentially when you're working with others on the training floor, like I don't know, communicating to someone else in the team? Like yes. So on that basis, I think communication needs to be understood like further and taken out from other contexts and just shown how it relates to every job, just because we need it to communicate with people, and there's very few jobs where you're just working in a silo. So that's why I think communication is underrated, and is the most important of all.
Okay, so I guess yeah, I do see like why it really makes sense, because in the field that is full of numbers, it's always nice to have people's touch in it. So what about Laura, Nitish? So what do you guys think?
I'd say I think the most underrated skill is confidence and believing in yourself. It can make such a difference between two candidates. One who's really confident and one who's not, or who doesn't really believe in themselves. So I think it's really important to be confident. And it's not about knowing everything. But it's more about it's but a can-do attitude, and show that you are enthusiastic, you do want to learn, and you believe that you can do it. Because once you get into I think into the corporate world, you'll see that a lot of people will go far ahead just because they're confident, just because they dare to speak up, they dare to ask questions. And those who stay shy, doesn't matter how it does matter to the extent how much they know, but it's not the only thing that matters. And it's not the only thing that takes you forward. And I think the sooner you learn this, the better.
Yep, I totally agree with Jazz and Laura. I mean, first of all, communication I've already stressed on communication, like how important it is. And then Laura also mentioned like how it's essential in corporate world as well, right? But I would also add, I think consistency is quite key as well. How you work, where you work at, how you face rejections. I mean, that's another underrated, I would say, how you face rejections and how you take feedbacks from that, or how do you learn from that going forward. I think and during my job search, I got like lot many rejections, but I tried to take it positive and I try to learn from each experience that I've got, right? So that's how you improve in your life, I would say, or in your work as well. You develop your interpersonal skills as well. Take the feedback positively and try to work on it. And that's how you will progress, and that's how you achieve some good stuff at your work as well, right? So I think that I would say like consistency and facing rejections are two underrated skills as well.
Yeah, thank you, Nitish. So we can all see like a pattern here. Like it's about like the most underrated skill is to have like very human qualities
Yeah.
added to the performance of your work. So let's be conscious of the time, and we'll go to the question from the audience. So we have a question. Um, so it's about someone who is doing an MSc in banking and finance, and yeah, it's about like how to it's about how this person can get into a job in wealth management in the UK. So you Nitish, you want to start? It's your degree. So You want to start first?
Oh, good question. Because I was myself a wealth manager back in India. I would say definitely go for professional certification, whatever is required for wealth management. I think there are level 4 requirement. That's quite essential because you need to adhere to regulatory requirements in UK for wealth management. Uh, and definitely, I mean, you'll have to be aware of the markets. You'll have to be at the top of what's going on in the market. How's the economy performing? How's market performing? What's the US market now? Now everything is global, right? So you need to be aware of all the global markets as well in terms of applying for wealth management. And I would just say if you're applying to a certain asset management company or wealth management company, just be aware of their products, their services, and most importantly, what in UK market I've realized is they look for a person who can work in a team or work collaboratively. So that's very important, I would say, even if you are quite good at technical stuff, if you are not a right person to work in a team, I don't think so like anyone would hire you. So focus on those things. I think those are the key skill set that you need to go into wealth management. And for wealth management, as per my experience, I would say think about the client first, listen to their problems. I think the key skill set to have in a wealth management is listening skills. Until unless you listen to a client requirement or a client problem, you won't be able to provide a right solution or a right um, asset classes to a client. So I think those things are quite crucial in wealth management.
Mm, thank you. So yeah, for Jazz, just from the just for like some practical notes to respond to this question. So like, what kind of support can the students have with this inquiry? And yeah,
Sure. With
and yeah, sorry.
sorry.
And does it also apply to alumni? So when student they graduate from Queen Mary, would they still have any access to the career support that we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of what support, if you're an alumni, you can still access a lot of our events that we run. From within the career service, there might be also some online events that this person could interact with. There are some there are some restriction on some events, like some are open only to whilst you're a student. I would say all of our appointments are also open to this person, so to talk through that particular inquiry, to get information, practice interviews. You can access, our career service from 3 years from the end of your course date. So yeah, um, that's the support that we have. So yeah, if there's anything that someone wants to talk through, get a starting point on, they can absolutely book an appointment with us, and that could be a good starting place for them.
Okay, so that's everything we have for today. So there are so many ways to break into a financial career, and for this session, I feel that we have dug really deep. We have we have been discovering like all the possible ways to getting into a financial career. So yeah, just to wrap up, do you have anything to say, whether a tip or just encouragement or yeah, whatever you want to say to prospective students? Yeah, who is our audience today?
I was just gonna say that don't be disheartened if you don't get the job you're hoping to get. I think any role within finance is a starting point, and you don't have to stay in that role forever, but it is a starting point, and it will help you to get to the role you want. So apply for everything that is kind of remotely similar to what you actually want to do, because it's all an experience.
Yes, and Nitish and Jazz, any last remarks to prospective students?
I would say just be curious when you come to QMUL. I mean, it provides a very right platform in terms of diversity and a right platform to engage with a lot of people from around the world, learn from their experiences, learn from the professors as well. I've seen like QMUL has like some of the great professors, and I'm still in touch with them. So I think that networking also is there, the right platform to communicate, to right platform to network with companies as well. I think there's everything that you can have as a student or a as a global or international student as well. So the dissertation is quite important when you study at QML. All those things, I'll definitely say that helps you down the line in your career path.
Okay, sounds great. And Jazz.
Yeah, I would just say, yeah, no, thanks so much, Laura and Natasha. So good to hear your like real life experiences. And as Laura was saying, she came to the career service. She had a list of jobs. I would say approach the career service as soon as you can. Just whether you know what you want to do or whether you don't know. I think it's just really good to talk to someone to help you build a plan or even just work on what you've already got. But yeah, that would be my encouragement to you. And yeah, just hearing from Nitish and Laura, I think it's just really good to hear all of those like fantastic things they've learned whilst at Queen Mary and how they've been successful in their careers. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So thank you everyone for the session today. So thank you, Jazz. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Nitish, for all the amazing insights you have shared with us today. So I wish you good luck in your job and any plan, and also good luck for any plans you have in the future. And see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much for having
you.
us.
Take care,
Thanks so
everyone.
much. Bye. Hello now.